welcome everybody to the Trinity Health Freedom Virtual Expo. My name is Robert Scott Bell. Been attending these things for many years, and now we're right in your living room. It's kind of crazy. And my best friend Paul Barattiero here from Synergy Science. We love to get together and share empowering information with you. Today we're going to talk about EMFs, the danger that they pose, and also how to remediate or protect yourself from it. And I just want to share a little bit about how I met Paul many years ago now, like a health expo, sort of like this, having traveled around the country and around the world, bringing the power to heal back where it belongs with each and every one of you. And I met this guy, and he was doing a similar thing with different stuff, water, right? My favorite thing as a homeopath. And he had the machines back in the day when they were talking about alkalinity, but he was the first guy that began to talk about hydrogen and also acknowledge when I challenged him, as I do, with good questions. If there was something he didn't know, he didn't make anything up. It was like, wow, what a breath of fresh air. You know how it is when you talk to people, you know the difference. So Paul has Synergy Science, and it's grown to be a global business to reach wherever people need help, whether it be water purification technology, hydrogen, and now the protection from the 5th generation wireless technology, EMFs. So that's the brief story of our backstory of how we connected, and our wives are friends, and we get together and we have fun together. And there's a lot about this lecture that I'm so grateful to bring to you because of what it brought to my wife, how it benefited her, and of course yours as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have been blessed with great wives.
Yes.
But
yes.
They are sensitive people, and these kind of technologies affect them even more so than maybe the normal population. And so, yeah, we have a history of taking care of our wives. We have a history of finding everything we can to bless their lives. And when we began developing the key technology and the key devices, what we now call the waveguard technology and the key devices, we started with our wives and to see how it affected them. And both Nancy and Jacqueline were profoundly affected.
Because we're guys, we don't know any, we're just, what's going on? I don't know.
That's right.
But no, these wives of ours are very sensitive, and I've told the story of the sensitivity that she had, my wife, since she had dental surgery that extracted some things and left her in a disastrous state of pain with a trigeminal neuralgia that wouldn't go away. Her energy was sapped. She was hiding in her bedroom, midday, noon, gone until dinner. And we put this, and we're going to get to this technology, but we put this device in our home, and within 24 hours the next day, she was up in the middle of the afternoon doing work around the house, getting ready. I'm like, honey, what's happening here? She's like, I don't know, I just have energy. So it was more than even just protection from EM fields that are disruptive, and we'll get to that, but also had to delve deep into the mitochondrial function because she gained energy that she didn't have as well. Yeah.
No, and when I brought it in the first time, my wife felt it, and she's like, what is that you just brought in the room? And she said, I feel sizzling in the air. And I'm like, whoa. My wife was actually sensing negative and positive ions combining, right? The electrons and what have you. So very sensitive, and both have been changed. My wife was not able to go in stores that had fluorescent lights for more than 10 minutes, and she would feel like she needed a nap. And now she can go in for an hour or two and no issues. So it's been life-changing for us and for our sweethearts. So, you know, we're talking about EMFs. What does EMF stand for? Electromagnetic field. One thing we want to tell you is EMFs is a very generic term, and electromagnetic fields are a generic term. Just because something is an EMF doesn't mean it's bad. There are beneficial EMFs and there are not beneficial. So the thing that we want to talk to you about today is what is non-beneficial or actually harmful. And to understand this, it's all about the radiation that is made or created in the EMF field itself. It's the radiation that affects the body negatively. So let's just have a little bit of fun and talk about some other countries and the way they deal with these things.
This is kind of embarrassing, but China seems to care more about its people here. What do they make you do?
Right. So if you're pregnant, you have to wear a belly band, what they call a belly band, which is basically a radiation protection suit to protect the baby. Yeah. And so this is what pregnant women are required to wear as a shielding clothing. So imagine that. Having pregnant women here in the U.S., they don't do this.
It at all, no.
In Israel, all cell phones must have this warning saying that it's harmful to your health. And the heavy use of obviously carrying this near your body, and especially amongst children. And this is what I think we will notice is that in the U.S., most children have phones, tablets, they're playing with. It's like a babysitter.
Right. Oh, and it's a dangerous babysitter, folks. My mom's from Israel, by the way, and when we talk about the key shield later, she would not want to be without it now that she's discovered what it does for her. So again, other countries very aware of the dangers and are trying to protect their people.
Yeah, I mean, when I go to Europe, which prior to all this going on now, I would go every quarter, you rarely see children with tablets or cell phones in Europe. You don't see that happening much, especially not at dinner, out in restaurants, you just don't see it. Here in France, we see that France banned Wi-Fi in schools. So this is 2018, long before we were concerned about it here, but they banned it in schools in 2014, all nursery schools. So they are seeing a cause and effect with children.
And they might be rude in Paris, but man, they are on protecting their kids by not Wi-Fiing in the schools.
Right. So here in India, we have the country with some of the toughest EMF radiation standards ever since 2012. We can see this, that they are concerned about that. When we go to the UK, Dr. Barry Trower, he says, hey, he's a microwave weapons expert, and he's saying, after working for the Royal Navy and the British Secret Service, he's saying, what? Anyone who puts Wi-Fi in a school should be locked up.
Yeah, it's very serious.
They should never, they have never looked at the research if they want to do this. So the World Health Organization obviously saying Wi-Fi radiation is a possible cancer-causing agent. This was back from 2011. So very, very obvious. Classified microwave radiation is a class 2 carcinogen. Here it's in the same category as lead and smoking.
Yeah.
So pretty serious. Anyway, so we can see all these countries have set exposure limits that are between 100 to 10,000 times lower than the United States of America.
Yeah. And folks, what I'm urging you is to not wait for the government to catch up and go, this is not a good thing, right? We've got to have strategies to take care of ourselves. That's what this is about, health freedom, your freedom to choose these things that actually work. So that's where we're going today.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about cell phones because they're one of the biggest insults.
Yeah, I don't like holding them up to my ear. I always have it on a speaker. There's images of heating the head. We've seen those thermographs. We'll show you in a minute.
So the maximum allowed limit in the United States is 1.6 watts per kilogram. So let's look at how some of the very popular phones come out. 9 out of 10 of the cell phones exceeded the legal limit that was set. So this is what's interesting. We have a legal limit of how many watts per kilogram we can have in a phone, yet 90% of cell phones exceed that.
So it's only 9 out of 10.
Right. So why are they being sold, right? That's the big question. Here, the Galaxy S9, number one selling phone.
3.8 times the...
Yeah, so that's 200%.
And that's not even the worst.
No, gosh, no. That's 200% over the legal limit. And actually, that's pretty good. Because when we look at the S8, which people say it's 500% over the legal limit. When we look at the iPhone 7, it's 400% over the legal limit. And we start looking at thermography here, you can see how it affects the cells in the body from a heat perspective. Obviously, the radiation is affecting heat in the cells, and when the cells are overheated, we know they don't function as well. Now, one of the reasons why the other countries are very critical for children is because their heads are smaller.
Look at the penetration on this.
Yeah, the bone is thinner. So you can see here at adult on your far right, it's not penetrating as much because the thickness of the skull is thicker. You get to a 10-year-old, you're almost 3/4 of the way through. And a 5-year-old, you're 85-90% through.
Well, and then you have the adults that are wearing those wireless pods in their ears.
Yes.
It's communicating through their heads too. So there are a lot of issues, not just for kids. You adults out there, I know you're there.
Yeah.
You'll want to pay attention to this and how we can remediate it.
Absolutely. So please be careful with children. And we know in every phone has a user's manual. And in that user's manual, it says what? Don't put it within 1 inch of your head.
We told you. We told you. You didn't read it.
Yeah, you didn't know it was there. And it was buried in a big, long thing. But we told you. You shouldn't have it within.
Always read the fine print.
I mean, how many people don't use their phone within 1 inch of their head? You can't hear unless it's on speakerphone at that point. But anyways, the warning is in there, and it's important for us to understand. So these are some of the symptoms of the EMF radiation: anxiety, depression, autism, Alzheimer's, heart problems, from palpitations to cardiac arrhythmia to tachycardia, all these different things, headaches, which is probably the one you hear about the most. People have headaches. But these are some of the things that people on a daily basis.
And by the way, just because this is what we call non-ionizing radiation, that doesn't make it necessarily safe.
Right.
And Paul, you mentioned earlier about there are forms of electromagnetic fields that are not harmful.
Right.
Think of homeopathy. I mean, we are imparting information that is in that electromagnetic spectrum, but in a beneficial way. So we're not dismissing all of it, but there are harmful ones we need to do something about.
That's correct. Absolutely. So one of the largest technical testing institutes in the world has done tremendous testing in this area. They have accurate sensors that are not a placebo effect, right? It's just
Beyond
technical
placebo,
study. It's just, here's the results. It's not about placebos. It's not about false results. It's
Well,
just,
even blinded and double-blinded studies that are validated in that way.
Right.
Yeah.
So here, this is subjective. They're not subjective because it's just sensors saying, here's what happened. And so we can go into these certification marks. When we start talking about the key devices and how they are tested, this is one of the things that TUV did, which has one of the largest testing institutes in the world. In the 1900 megahertz cellular band, which is your 4G and what have you, the key home cell caused a 60% reduction in EMF exposure, or what we call field strength reduction.
By the way, that was my first introduction when we put that in our home, that specific thing, QI, key home cell.
Yeah.
And you'll see that in a moment, but we just want to go through the validations to show you that these are the first validated, verified through high-level laboratory testing, again, independent of subjectivity, some double-blinded studies as well, placebo-controlled studies.
Right.
Fascinating, the impact on tissue and what happens when you have this technology with you.
Exactly. They also did the 1800, which is the European band. So 1900 megahertz is the US, 1800 is the European band, and that was between 60 and 70% reduction. The highest on both of these bands was 74% on 1900 and 1800. And so effectively, you're not reducing the entire signal strength, or you wouldn't be able to use your phone, but it's reducing the excess or the unnecessary,
Unneeded,
the unnecessary signal strength. So you can still carry on a phone conversation and have the technology that you want to use, but not be harmed by it. So here is the actual study on the 1800 megahertz. You can see the purple, which is the calibration, or the blue line, is 3 volts per meter. And we need to understand that's what that number 3 stands for, is 3 volts per meter. You can see the red line, which is almost 2/3 reduced. You're hovering around the 1, it does dip below the 1 volt per meter, but you can see the significant difference on how the key home cell reduces in what we call 1800 megahertz. But it's starting at 1710 all the way to 1879 megahertz. So it's an entire band that it was testing. So the key shield was a 30% reduction. Now this is a smaller device, it's a portable device, but it had a 30% reduction. And again, we can see that here in different positions. We did 2 different positions in that one. And again, 3 volts per meter down to roughly 2. It comes up 2.4, but it hovers in that 2419 all the way to 2467.
We have the shield for travel, the ability to take it around portable. If you got an office, a home, a bedroom, you can move it around as needed.
Right, and what this is showing us is what? This is Wi-Fi. So the last study we looked at was 18 and 1900 megahertz because it was cellular. This is 2.4 gigahertz. So you've got 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. That's why you're seeing the frequencies at the bottom are all the 2400. So here we have Bion Institute. This was simply showing an individual in a chair, and behind them 1 meter was a Wi-Fi router, and out to the left of them 1 meter was the key shield. And this is just showing how it protected them with using the Friedman test. So 7 points of muscle activity, heart rate variability, skin conductance, respiration rate, finger temperature, heart rate, all these different
objective
things.
tests,
Yes.
not subjective, not, I think, I feel, this is very good science, sound science to give you some evidence that you realize you're tapping into a technology that has actually been proven.
Exactly. And so they ended up putting a certificate for the key shield saying that it protects you against Wi-Fi radiation. So everything we've discussed so far is, guess what? 4G.
4th generation.
We haven't even talked about 5G yet, which everyone is or most people, I shouldn't say everyone, most people are concerned about, right? That have done any research at all. But this is just 4G so far. So let's get into 5G. What's going on there? Now, we talked about 5G being 1800 and 1900 megahertz. 5G, real 5G, is 42,000 megahertz and over 60,000 megahertz. This is 20 to 30 times.
And I recognize there are a number of different things that fall under the umbrella of 5th generation, but there are certain elements that are very known to be harmful, others that they claim are less so, but we have to deal with where this technology is going, whether we believe it's necessary or not. We are living in it, so what can we do?
Right, exactly right. So here, it's pretty obvious that Scientific American says we have no reason to believe 5G is safe. Well, here's the deal. When they launched 3G, there were no safety studies. Later, they found out the harm, they launched 4G. No safety studies. Here, they're launching 5G, no safety studies. Now, we are doing Synergy Science, the waveguard technology, we are doing, and it's almost finished. Literally, as we're speaking, the reports are being put together on the first 5G safety study ever done. We did it in Europe, and we'll have that very, very soon to be able to publish, to be able to help you understand how our devices protect. And in fact, the results have shown that up against the 42,000 megahertz, or what's called 42 gig, we actually had higher signal reduction than we did with the 1800 and 1900. So the higher the frequencies, our devices, the key devices, actually perform even better. So that's good news. Yeah. So here we can talk a little bit about, as of October 15, 2019, 252 EMF scientists from 43 nations have signed an appeal trying to say to the world, don't do this. Don't launch 5G without having more safety studies. And of course, that was ignored. So what about the studies? Let's look at some new studies that have happened. Here's the Key Shield report showing a wound healing study, and we've got a little video that will play showing you how the Key Shield protected against radiation from cell phones and literally erased.
It relates to tissue regeneration.
Yes.
In the presence of a 5G, which they know is impaired, and then in the presence of the key technology, waveguard technology, this is something you do not want to miss.
That's right. So there were three, and you'll see in the culture studies, but there were three separate cultures, cell cultures, and really what they were doing is showing how wound healing is stopped 90% by EMF exposure. So the body's ability to heal itself was reduced by 90% with the exposure of cell phone. And then when they put the Key Shield in that same field, the body only lost 10%. So there was an 80% increase of performance just because of having the Key Shield. So we'll go ahead and play that.
My name is Professor Darch, and I'm a biochemist and physiologist. I'm working for more than 30 years in the field of experimental animal-free cell culture models, which want to predict effects on the complete organism, but without using experimental animals. I'm the chief of a private scientific company, and we are working in a variety of fields containing pharmaceutical industry or food supplement industry, but also tobacco industry for looking on toxicological features. According to the provider, the Key Shield is able to protect against all kinds of radiation. We conducted a study in which we tried to see if the Key Shield is able to protect against the radiation of an active mobile phone. We used as a test assay the cell regeneration process or wound healing process of the cells which we used in our cell culture systems. We used cultured connective tissue fibroblasts for a simulation of the wound healing process. The cells were exposed to the radiation of an active mobile phone for 2 hours, one assay together with the key shield and the other assay without the key shield. Afterwards, the cells were incubated for another 22 hours in the cell culture incubated, were then fixed, stained, and the space of the remaining wound edge was measured. In addition to the quantification of the results of the fixed cells, we also used the time-lapse video system to demonstrate the dynamic process of wound healing with mobile phone radiation and key shield and without the protection of key shield. The present study has shown that the cell regeneration process is largely delayed by the active mobile phone radiation. To our surprise, when using the key shield to have a protection during this exposure process, we could show that the wound healing process is nearly the same as for an unexposed control. For us, this means that the key shield is able to protect against the mobile phone radiation, and from this point of view, we can highly recommend this system.
So you can see in that study, amazing, not only could you see the results, but you could see an actual live action because they did a time lapse. Basically, they're watching the fibroblast, what's called the fibroblast, which is the little cells that drop collagen to heal a wound. It was a time-lapse video showing those fibroblasts functioning, and you could visually see the difference in the ones that was a key shield versus not. So here's the Fraunhofer Institute, which is 27,000 employees, and again, we're doing a double-blind study, 6 months. All the studies we've done in the past have been 5 to 10 minute exposures to see these tremendous benefits. Here, this is a 6-month study on individuals that will be carrying the key shield with them to do a full study on how it affects their body biologically, and that will be released later this year, very soon actually. The Cleveland Clinic, now very, very well respected Center for Reproductive Medicine. Cleveland Clinic is amazing. Back in 2008, they did a study on sperm and how EMF exposure stopped sperm from swimming correctly to the egg. So they were telling the world that maybe infertility issues are a result of EMFs in certain individuals. We know obviously people are still having children, so it doesn't affect every human being. But what if a high percentage of the reproductive issues that are happening or infertility was because of EMF?
And there are higher rates of infertility over the past decades, and the more we work toward this technology not tested for safety, we have to look deeper into these issues. If you want to have children and grandchildren, this is an issue you must pay attention to.
Absolutely. So the Cleveland Clinic will be doing a study showing basically a repeat. So in 2008, they showed that sperm didn't swim correctly and didn't get to the egg. Now they're going to do, in 2020, another study showing our technology and how it undoes that effect.
We might have to call it a lifeguard now, make it swim better, not just wave guard, right?
That's right. That's right. So that's exciting. We are excited for that, and later in 2020, fourth quarter of 2020, we'll be having these beautiful studies coming out, and I hope this gives hope to people that have had infertility issues. So this is some people that have said, hey, since September 2014, I'm using the Key Home and experiencing multiple positive health effects. In particular, I appreciate my considerably heightened energy level as well as noticeable protection from electric smog. This is, we have thousands of them.
Listen, just our wives are, again, we come back to the beginning. And 2 weeks after we put the Key Home cell in our home, we went out on a double date. We hadn't been out in years because my wife had been suffering. We couldn't go out at night. So there was nothing different in that time frame, and we would not be without this technology.
And now we go out all the time.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's really awesome. So these are just more people that have had wonderful benefits, but let's get to what the actual devices look like. Here is the Key Me, which is a personal device, 3-inch by 5-inch. You can put it in a pocket or a jacket like what I'm wearing. And it's a portable unit. You can take it anywhere you want to go. The Key Shield is a device that's bigger than that. It's 7 inches tall and 3 inches across. It's like a Bluetooth speaker size. That covers a room or an office or a small home, like an apartment, up to 225 square feet. These two units are portable. They don't ever turn off. So when you take them with you, they're working to benefit you. The Key Home Cell and the Key Max, though, are not portable. They're designed to go in a home or larger homes or commercial spaces, big 20-story buildings. They're designed to be sitting still, not moved around. In fact, they have circuitry inside that if you turn them on their side or moving them around, they turn off. So these are the 4 main products in the Key devices or the WaveGuard technology product line to be able to protect you wherever you are in your home or even going outside of your home.
So realize that you have the ability to travel with one, because I have the Key Shield to travel. We take it everywhere we go. And then we have the one at home or in the office that can cover a 3,000 square foot home or a 50,000 square, depending on that will be the determining factor of what you need wherever you are.
Right. Yeah, literally the Key Max will cover 100,000 square feet horizontal, up 100 feet and down 100 feet. It's almost 2 million square feet total if you had the exact perfect situation set up. And the Key Home Cell will do a 2,500 square feet on one level, up one level, down one level. So
that could cover 75 if you're talking about the right size.
Exactly. Yeah, if you maximize it. Exactly. So here are the devices going into a little bit of depth. The lifespan of them is 8 years from the time you put them in service. You would want to replace them around 10-year mark. And then for the Key Home Cell and the Key Max, there is a service that we can refill after 10 years. And so that's at a cost, but we will do that for you. You can do that not having to replace the entire device. We can actually, for a much smaller amount of money, go back in and refill that liquid inside. So that is available. For the Key Me and the Key Shield, those items will need to be replaced after 8 to 10 years. So here is another video that will just give you a little understanding visually of how the device works, how it protects a home, and you can see this.
Today, we live in an omnipresent cloud of charged particles emitted by electronic devices, electromagnetic fields, WLAN, and radio waves. These particles penetrate our bodies and heat the water in our body tissues. Recent scientific studies have shown that this particle flux not only heats the cells in our bodies as if we were in a microwave oven, but damages them as well. At Key Technologies, we want to protect you from the negative effects of such particles, so we have developed the Key Home Cell and other products. The Key Home Cell creates a protective field that works like a filter, intercepting any dangerous particles before they can enter your body. Here we have a partial look at the inner workings of the Key Home Cell. The Key Home Cell generates a charge exchange between the water tubes, thereby discharging free electrons and releasing them into the room. Within 24 hours, the Key Home Cell creates a torus field. The free electrons formed in the torus use their negative charge to bind to the positively charged harmful particles, thereby rendering them harmless to you. The torus field has an effective range of 16.4 feet above and below, and 24.6 feet around the device. The torus field created by the Key Home Cell is transmitted and provides you with protection through the walls of your home. Not only humans and animals are shielded from harmful radiation, but plants and food too. Whether mobile radio waves or WLAN, any particles that come within the torus field can no longer cause any harm to you or your family. The Key Home Cell provides you with all-around protection, allowing you to communicate with absolute peace of mind when using your cell phone or any other electronic devices. The Key Home Cell's free electrons are transmitted into the water through the torus field and repairing the water structure that was destroyed by radiation particles. Water regains its ideal vibrating hexagonal grid structure. The difference is easy to taste and can be proven with laboratory testing. This type of perfect hexagonal water structure is found in fresh spring and healing water and has also been seen in snowflakes. The same effect happens with our food, which also contains water. The Key Home Cell greatly reduces radiation exposure from cell phones, laptops, WLAN transmitters, mobile terminals, and other sources of radiation. The Key Home Cell drastically reduces the thermal stress on your body tissue. It is very fast and very easy. With the Key Home Cell, you will experience a new quality of well-being within your home and more life energy without any unhealthy exposure to radiation.
Well, thank you for your time. We hope we have educated you. We hope that you will take the time to learn more. You can go to synergyscience.com, learn more, see the studies, watch the videos, and we are here. There is a chat window you can ask questions. You can always contact the staff. You can send an email to info@synergyscience.com. But most important, we, Robert and I, are here to protect you and to help you protect yourself and your family.
Yeah, and appreciate so much the opportunity from Health Freedom Expo, Julie Whitman-Klein and the family and the whole team from Trinity School as well. Do mention the Health Freedom Expo. We want to know where you heard about this, and you can follow up also with the Robert Scott Bell Show. We cover these topics all of the time, 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. So remember, synergyscience.com,
Yep.
robertscottbell.com, TrinityHealthFreedomExpo.com,
Yep.
TrinitySchool.org. All of those places are places where you can get empowered to protect yourself and to heal. Thank you for being here with us today.
Absolutely. And when you do mention Trinity School of Natural Health and the Health Freedom Expo, the Trinity Health Freedom Expo, you will have a discount on the product. So again, I want to thank Julie Whitman-Klein and the heritage her father began in this school and the amazing family that they are for health freedom. We honor you, Julie, and your father, and appreciate the opportunity to educate you.
And remember, the power to heal is yours.